Okay, quadratics. Okay, the vertex. And don't forget, on your formula sheet, this is what you're looking at with quadratics. So the vertex is HK, but because the formula has subtractions in it, subtractions mean opposite, so the vertex is positive 1 with the x value and negative 7. The slope is the A multiplier, so the slope is 2. And because the slope is 2, it would open up, positive 2, upwards. What is the axis of symmetry? If you could slice it in half. X equals, if you don't write x equals, which I know some of you are going to forget, you get that wrong. What is the x value that it would cut through? Where do you find that? Where's the x value that it cuts through? 1. Maybe your free exam point, what's the domain of a parabola? Negative infinity to positive infinity. Some of you will maybe get that wrong because you write it backwards. You can't go from positive infinity to negative infinity. That's like reading a book backwards. And the range. What's the lowest height? There's a low height here. What is the lowest height? Where do you get the height of that from? Would you look there? Negative 7. And then it shoots up, 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 so infinity. Describe the transformations. So I'm just going to rewrite this. So transformation form I just move the number at the end. So that number can go interchangeable. So the 7 moved. So what are the transformations? It moved 1 in what direction? What direction did the parabola shift? Right. What direction did it shift here? Down. It went down. Look at my coordinate. To the right, down, right? And what does a multiplier like that do to the arms? Remember your parabola shape? It can move, it can flip. The arms can go out or in, flip. What does this one do? It narrows. And what is a y-intercept? What is the definition in your head of what a y-intercept is? Where x is 0. So you can see what I did there. I made x 0, and you need to come up with a number there when that's all said and done. Can you work that number out? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have to graph this. So I'm going to go 1 comma negative 7. That's my vertex. Okay, so put your vertex on there. And now I'm going to go over up. So how does the pattern of that quadratic go? 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. Because quadratics are x squareds. So if we move x of 1, y has to move that squared. Squared. Okay. But we had a slope of 2. So what do I do instead? This would have to be 2, 8, 18. Times by 2. Okay, does that make sense? It's a times by 2. Okay, so I'm going to go over 1, up 2. Okay, you can see over 1 up 2, over 2 up 8, and you flip-flop on both sides, the symmetric pattern. On your exam, check out your y-intercept. Does your y-intercept on the graph match your math y-intercept? Always. I always get somebody on the exam who has this drawing, and then over here their math said that their y-intercept was negative 30 or something wrong. Okay, well look at your sketch. Does it make sense? Okay, so now I have an equation, but it looks like this. Different form. So I would note this on my formula sheet. Well, it looks like this. So now what do I do to get the vertex? What do you do to get the vertex in this format? Anybody remember the process? Because if you forget this process, you're hooped on a lot of stuff on your exam. Negative b over 2a, plug in, right? Negative b over 2a, plug in. So positive 6 over 2 times negative 1 is negative 3. Then you plug that in to here. I need every single person to have their calculator out and plug that in, because this one is a tricky plug-in. The negative of negative 3 squared minus 6 times negative 3 minus 3. Please plug it in. So plug in negative 3 into the x positions. And anybody feel super confident in their number? 6. Yep. Okay, this is the part that kind of tricks people. Make sure you have typed that in properly. Okay, what is the slope? What is the a multiplier? What's the multiplier? Negative 1. Negative 1 is how many x squares you have. So now my parabola will open down. Axis of symmetry is me cutting it in half, which starts with x equals, which x value does it go through? That one. Domain, same old. Make sure you get that one. And your range. So this range would be forever down. You always start down to the top six. Square bracket, because it would hit that same exact height. Okay, and the last one, what is the y-intercept? So again, that's where x is 0. So if this was 0 and this was 0, what's y? -3. Don't even have to plug it in, right? Okay, so now let's go to our graph and we'll put the vertex on there. So we put the vertex on there. I just put my y-intercept on there already as well. Okay, every pattern is based off of 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, but your slope is -1. So what am I doing? I'm going to negate, times them by -1. So 1 over 1 down. On your exam, I state you have to have 5 coordinates. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coordinates. You have to have at least 5. Okay, you have a graph. The x-intercepts are at 1 and 11. Can you visualize what's happening at 1 and 11? They have x-intercepts. So where would you put the axis of symmetry? Any ideas where that would line up? Could we agree that it would be halfway, the middle? So I'm trying to figure out the middle of 1 and 11, which is 6, right? 5, 5. Okay, but what is the answer here? What's the axis of symmetry? X equals 6. Write a possible equation. So if I had an x-intercept at 1 and an x-intercept at 11, what kind of process gives us an x-intercept? What are we always doing, and then at the end we get x equals this? We've done it a million times. What's the process called that gives us an x-intercept? factors, right? This is always what we've done. We've gone something equals 0, we factor it, we get our x-intercepts, right? So what is the factor that gets me a 1? X minus 1. What's the factor that gets me 11? Okay, now I want you to FOIL that out. So x squared. What do the numbers add to in the middle and multiply to at the end? What do they add to? What do they multiply to? And why would I mark this person a partial mark off right now? What are they missing? Actually, now I want a y equals. When I started the factoring, I made y be 0. Okay, but now you want a y. Okay, so on this one, I had a vertex. I had a vertex of -1, 8. And then there was just a coordinate of a point at 1, 0. So do you see what my parabola would kind of look like? Here's my vertex, here's the point. So my goal is to figure out the slope. Can you figure out how many moves I've gone over? So where did I go? I was at -1, and now I'm at +1. So how many tick marks would I have gone over? I've gone over 2. And how many did I go down? So I went over 2, and then I ended up going down 8. So according to the pattern, if you go over 2, you should go up 4. So what did we times by? Because they ended up going down 8. So what's my timesor in this situation? Slope, -2. So I know my slope, I know my vertex. I need you now to write an equation. And you're going to use this form because this form puts in your vertex coordinate and your slope. So you need to plug your point in for the h and the k is the point. Not specifically the point, but the vertex coordinate. Okay, word problems. There's for sure a quadratic word problem or 2 on your exam. A lot on quadratics. So you're going to build this pen and you're trying to maximize the area. So I have a few of the widths and 1 length on my rectangular pen. Okay, I have a total of 1,000 feet. So all of this would add up to 1,000. That's what I know. If I add up all those pieces of fence, I would have 1,000. And I want to try to maximize the area. So what's the area of a rectangle? So what do we do with this scenario? What was the strategy? I didn't like this because there's 3 letters involved, and you can't really do much math when you have 3 letters. Okay, so what's the goal? Substitute for something so that you end up with only 2 letters. What could I do as an isolation over here? The W or the L? Which one's better? I think L alone is better, easier than getting W. So if this is equivalent to L, I can make that replacement, that substitution. What would be the next steps? Distribution. So remember what you're doing. You're doing max area. So this is a parabola that opens down, and we're trying to understand max. So how do we get max? We need the vertex. Vertex is on the top. And how do you get vertex when it looks like this? How do you get the vertex? Negative b over 2a, right? Be careful here. This is out of order, right? Negative 1,000 is actually the b part. Negative 3 is the a part. Okay, that is normally the x of the vertex, but I don't have x's. So that is now which letter? The W? So that is the width that I want. Okay, if I plug it in, it will tell me the area, but I don't actually want to know area. I want to know dimensions. So that means I want to know L. 1,000 minus 3 of the W's. I have that on my calculator still. I didn't take it off, so I'm going to not round it at all. Times 3. Okay, revenue. The revenue, if you're doing a concert, is your number of people times your ticket. however many come and how much you charge each one is how much money you are going to make. Right? Does that make sense in real life? Okay, so fill in as you read. You have a $10 ticket right now, and 500 people will come. What if you increase the price by $1? 10 fewer people will come. What do I need to add to this scenario though? X. Because I might go up $1 or $2 or $3, I don't know, so then I'll keep that as a variable. Okay, what would be your next maneuver? Were you thinking about doing a FOIL? So give me a FOIL. Okay, how does your FOIL process look? We're matching. Okay, so what does this parabola tell me? This opens down. So then I'm trying to get max revenue, which means I'd like to get the vertex. And how do I get the vertex? Negative b over 2a. Okay, this is not the answer. This is x. That's all it is just the x value. So when I ask what ticket price will maximize the revenue, the ticket price started at 10 and went up 1x amount of times. And what is x now? So if x is 20, I'm going to have to increase $20, and so now my ticket price is actually 30. Okay, more quadratic-y stuff. Quadratic formula would be on your sheet. So that would be on a formula sheet that you would get on your exam. Okay, I gave you that formula sheet at the very start of the year. That's the same one I will give you on your exam day. Okay, so this one would go x equals positive 9 plus minus the square root of, square it, so then just write 81 minus 4ac. Okay, next I go, what is just this discriminant part? So the radical Do you remember how to type it into your calculator? So on the type on your calculator, this is what you would be looking at. Right? Remember those? On your exam, I expect everything to be to 2 decimals, except the one spot I'm okay with is angles. Okay, what is wrong with question B? You can't tackle it because there's something just wrong with it right now. It does not equal 0. I'm also going to rearrange, and I like to have things in the order so that my brain can see A, B, C. Okay, but you have to have 0 before you do anything. Factoring, formula, anything equals 0 before that. Okay, do you want me to do another one with you, or are you okay? Okay, but I just wanted you to recognize that that one couldn't start until you have the 0. Okay, let's talk about this though. If this discriminant is positive, what's going to happen? You're going to get 2 answers. What if the discriminant was 0? You get only one touch, one answer. And what if the discriminant was negative? You get no x-intercepts. Do you think I'm telling you this for a reason? Wink, wink. Discriminant scenarios. Make sure you know those. That's on your exam. Positive, 0, or negative. Okay, solving. We have factoring, isolation, formula. So obviously if you can try to factor it, that's what you go for. Do you have your styles dialed in? GCF. What else? Difference of squares. Simple trinomials, complex trinomials. Anybody else seen a GCF on this one? A. They all have an A in them. Okay, then that is a simple. Do you have something that can multiply to 60 and then add up to 4? Okay, what do you need to do with this though? It's still in there as a multiplier. So you have 3 answers on this one. A could be what, or what. Okay, question B. Which style do you see? Looks like a GCF. There's only 2 terms in it. Looks like a B could come out. Okay, C is a complex trinomial. So let's practice one of those. Step 1. Tell me what your flow number is. So I got a negative 30, first and last. I'm just going to make a note to myself. When it's negative, I know there's going to be one plus and one minus in this. 130, 215, 3, 10, 5, and 6. Those are the sets of 30. And I'm trying to get something to make a negative 1 in the middle. Okay, now you go to the first. So I could do x and 2x. That's the only option to get that. Last, I could have put a 115 or a 35. Puzzle time, right? Make sure you get your partners to line up to make a 6 and a 5. Okay, sometimes this is the hardest part, the lining them up in their FOIL positions. First times first has to make 2x squared. Outside, inside. And now I've already lined up my partners. I wanted the 1x to go with a 5. To make plus 5. And I wanted the 2x to go with a 3 to make negative. This is a fraction answer, and what's the little trick? Opposite divide. Okay, question D. Sorry, there's about 5 minutes left to go. One more thing and then after this. Question D, what is the method of choice that you're going to pick, the algebra branch part you're going to go with? And your answer should have been, I'm picking an isolation strategy. Because I only see one variable in this, there's only x squareds involved, so I could get it alone. Okay, so isolation algebra, -2. Then we want to times by 3. What did you write as an answer? Plus or minus 2. Okay, E, do it on your own. What's the problem? Before you're going to do it on your own, but what's the problem with it? I don't see an equal 0 on it. So fix it and then factor it. Okay, last part of quadratics that I have here. Okay, complete the square. Complete the square. Okay, so the process is move that last part out. Okay, number 2 step. Figure out how you want to end the trinomial. You want to do some kind of little method that ends this trinomial how you want it to. Half squared. Half of that squared is plus 9. Step 3. What do you think step 3 is going to be? You upset the math teeter-totter, so you need to bounce it back out. That didn't exist. You changed it by 9, so you also have to change that side by 9. Okay, next. How do you write this trinomial as a perfect square? What would square to get that trinomial? Remember, you're foiling with binomials. This always adds to the middle, times is to the end. So specifically, it will double and square. Okay, now to isolate, I'm going to square root. So if I square root, the square root and square are completely canceled. Okay, on this next part here, I said convert this to a decimal. So in your calculator, this is all I'm asking you to type in your calculator. Well, what is the square root of 8 plus 3? What is the negative square root of 8 plus 3? And kind of like, what does this all connect to? What does this look like? What does this mean? Well, these are my x-intercepts of the parabola, quadratic. Okay. The side said check your answers using the formula. So on the exam, right? If I just do the formula now, it should match those decimals if I did the whole formula. Okay, I'm just going to leave that for right now. Okay, and then this last one, change from general to standard. Okay, we're going to use the complete the square, the same process, except for the only difference is this time there's a y. Last time there was a 0. So there's going to be a y in here. Everything else will be the same. So the first step is get that last part of the trinomial out. Step 2, pick what you want to end it with. So you're doing a half squared, half squared, half squared. Step 3, you upset this teeter-totter, so you have to balance it back out. And step 4, finish writing in quadratic equation form, right? Kind of know what it has to look like at the end. It has to look like that. Obviously, this is only with a slope of 1, so I don't think I put a slope of 2 on your exam. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't, because we only practiced a slope of 1.